Blast off.
Hell yeah. Alright. Entering Champ Select with the Big Rock Bobbies versus Moobalaw coaching. And right away with the oh, okay, we get a dodge. Unlucky. Alright. So go back to unsure why the game has been quit, but we'll find out very soon. For anyone interested, the substitute top laner for Big Duck Bobbies is KUW112.
Probably some kind of related stuff.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
I'd imagine it must be some kind of related stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely Chinese.
Of course.
Of course. How silly of me.
Alright, currently we're just waiting for the players to get an order and then we'll be able to get this game underway. Oh, my mistake. It seems that order is not an issue and we are just waiting on one of the players from Moobalaw coaching and we'll get underway very soon.
Seema, who's going to do the announcement?
The announcement, oh, in the official UWA ULC Discord.
Yes, the official one. But only
That's
the talking
crazy. Alright, I will be an incredibly great person and go ahead and make the announcement.
Very good. So, Seema, when are you planning on usurping Kirasuma?
At least tomorrow.
At least tomorrow.
At least tomorrow.
Well, I hope he's paying attention because he doesn't have much time before he gets his son. That's if he was a bad man.
We all know UWA ULC is all about the politics as we're heading into Champion Select. Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. Alright, finally getting this game underway. So first of all, what do you expect to see in this interesting Stormraiser meta now?
Well, look, I expect to see Dota 2 pop off, right? I mean,
Oh, without a
he's been
doubt.
through the trenches of Clemon, and he's picked up some tricks along the way.
Oh, I do not doubt to see that. Interesting. Oh, Katarina and Renekton bands coming out first.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Renekton ban. The essence for abilities are pretty cascades.
There is, yes, no, definitely. We've seen a couple of new champions come to light with the AD changes. There are still champions that are definitely well on top though, and even cemented more from that position with like the example of Graves becoming top tier, well, staying the top tier pick in the jungle. We definitely expect that to be a highly contested pick in the first rotation.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Grace has been overpowered for quite some time. It's interesting to see that there are no Grace bans.
No, yes, definitely a tough pick to give over in the first pick. We'll
Maybe
see.
it's because Seiyu plans to play Lee Sin, which is his signature pick.
That is very true. We'd be very excited to see some Lee Sin. A Lucian ban, definitely targeted, as well as the champion becoming extremely strong this patch. Interestingly, we don't see any target bans towards the support area, especially with Laf being known, very well known, especially for his Gragas support, a very unconventional pick that I'm not sure the bottom lane will deal with properly. And we see the first pick of Jinx coming through. What are your thoughts, Beamer?
Um, I don't think Jinx needed to be picked. It's not a highly contestable pick. Dota 2 doesn't play it at all. Surely there were better priority picks to be picked up here, but yeah, I guess it's an opportunity for him to kind of pick Kaisen, which is actually a
Interesting,
very powerful
yes.
AD character.
Absolutely. No, seeing the Kai'Sa coming through into a free lane, I don't think there's actually any point that Jinx wins in this game. There is, in terms of spikes, Kai'Sa just outdoes her in every aspect. So definitely a large win from Mubu Law coaching straight away.
Yeah, the Zoe pick here is really good as well. Obviously, Step Right is a fervent Zoe player, and on top of that, Zoe's actually really strong in the current
Absolutely.
patch.
Yeah, definitely. Last patch especially, we saw some Zoe Smite combos coming out to contest the Scuttle level 2 and being able to secure Scuttles on both sides of the map. So yeah,
I
seeing
don't think that's actually a thing, but
yeah, no, so seeing seeing Zoe here, she still has some interesting matchups that have been left up, the Aurelia especially, but we're seeing an Ivan come through from Seiyu, definitely not what we were expecting with his signature Lee Sin.
yeah, well, they're going for a hyper carry comp with the Jinx.
Absolutely, yeah. No, they've definitely shown their hand very early. We'd expect to see bans towards the more supportive mids. Possibly Karma and Morgana would be looking at, especially. And I'm sure Mubu, having coached a team very used to supportive mids, would be looking towards that.
What are you trying to say about a key team?
I'm saying they play support mids and nothing else. Let them play the game.
But
Oh,
I do like the Leona pickup actually, because with the Kaiser coming out, you'd expect that maybe while coaching would go for a really aggressive bot lane. So Leona kind of cuts it off. So like it's harder to go to champions like Thresh, which really do punish things.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'm definitely in agreement with that.
I
Uh,
think I'd like to see some support bands coming out.
yeah. Interestingly, seeing the disparity in the mid lane, we're going to see double bans most likely focused towards that from Uber Law coaching. Um, whereas I believe that, I mean, the Yasuo again can be flexed. I believe that Big Doc Bobby is much more concerned about the possible blind pick that the situation they're going to be put in with top, uh, especially with a very late substitution top laner. This
Who's the top laner anyway?
I
Like,
have no idea.
I mean, like who's Mitch Bane?
Oh, that is also true. I do not know.
Yeah, I have no idea who any of these players are. I feel it's this magnificent step right hello. I'm cheating
Never
the
heard
nice
of him.
hedgehogs.
Goes to an
Maybe.
inferior uni. Must be a new
Yeah,
name.
true, true, true.
Oh,
Let that be a lesson for the rest of you Murdochians out there.
exactly.
Be a uni, by the way.
Seeing the Rise pick, definitely a reasonably safe pick into Zoe. Uh, if he's able to get past if he's able to keep on shoving in, he shouldn't have trouble dealing with the uh, constant Zoe harass. But again, we'll uh, see how it pans out.
Mhm.
Oh, that's very interesting. So that changes things completely. We're looking for the Rise top and the TF mid. This is definitely a comp set up to look to be playing around bottom side very early on.
Well, I think it wouldn't be surprising if they actually kept top lane here. I mean, Camille Wonder. If the Rise pushes up too much, then the Camille gank would be pretty much free.
Absolutely.
And
Oh, yes, no, definitely. Top is looking very juicy for Mubu Law coaching. But yeah, it looks like Big Duck Bobbies are putting all their eggs in the basket of this Jigs pick. We'll see who comes out on top. We do have 3 minutes of delay after this finishes just because of live spectator delay. But in that time, we can definitely theorize about what we're expecting to see. Interestingly, Stepright has refused to change summoners so far. I doubt he would lock those in, but it would be interesting to see a Zoe start with Ghost Cleanse.
I mean, why do you need Ghost Cleanse when you can steal? Oh, sorry. Why do you need Flash when you can just steal the Flash from the enemy? Oh, what a coward!
Absolutely, yes. Ah,
What a freaking coward!
very sad to see those summoners go away, but
It's very sad to see him being a coward. Don't you agree?
exactly, yes. No,
I
we
agree.
needed some balls in this, and we just got meta. It's
Yeah,
very terrible.
I think
Oh,
I talked him up earlier. Unbelievable.
oh dear. Oh yes. So compositions wise, I definitely say that uh, Mubulor coaching seems to have the far more meta style compared to Big Dot Bobbies, especially with that bottom lane. Be interesting to see if the Jinx Leona can go toe to toe with the Kaiser Alistar.
If I were Kaiser, shouldn't be able to, but Kaiser's not really well known for being an early game bully, to be honest. So
No, not at all.
might be fine.
Yeah, the Jinx definitely. Both of them should get a free lane early, theoretically. Uh, it'd be interesting to see how the scaling patterns work out, especially with the changes to the 80 carry itemizations. We've seen the return of AP Kaiser quite heavily, along with the Kaiser changes, um, and crit being shied away from. The Jinx, I have not seen enough Jinx on this patch to tell you what sort of builds will come out, but I would be very not surprised to see a Stormrazor first out of Bruce.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen too much 80 carry this patch either. Yeah, Stormrazor seems pretty good though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does Kaiser still go Rage Blade? Probably, right?
Uh, you can go either the Essence Reaver or Rageblade build.
Wait, wouldn't the Essence Ring build be busted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're
Sorry,
going
sorry,
AP Kaiser, in which case you do need the Rageblade Ashes. But yeah. No, the Essence Reaver build is definitely very strong too. This champion is still extremely strong this patch. It's very strange to see it, both it and Graves, not really too contested from especially Big Doc Bobbies.
I mean, they probably just didn't play the pretty fun type of tournament.
Definitely. Alright. 35 seconds left on our spectator delay before we start loading into the game.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Honestly, it's pretty tough to say. I'd put my eggs in probably the Mubu Law coaching basket simply because I believe that their comp deals with the strengths of Big Dot Bobbies very well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that their comp is far more conventional, and I myself have seen the first-hand benefits that QET has experienced under the guidance of Chris Moody as the
Absolutely.
fantastic mastermind of the QET team. Might even say that, I mean, basically, you know, if QET win the OCS, right, it would actually be a UWA victory because Moody is the one guiding the strings, manipulating them into winning for us. Just saying.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
As we're loading into Champion Select, as we're loading into game, we'll bring you guys up to speed as soon as we get in game. But for now, we're just again waiting for. We've just finished the spectator delay and now loading into game. I'm particularly excited to see how this Twisted Fate pick will play out. Especially, it's seen as a weaker pick into the uh, particularly the Zoe, which is known for being an obnoxious lane bully. So you're going to see most of TF's utility come from his roaming rather than any sort of lane pressure that he build up. His
Yeah. Keep on. Sorry.
sorry, he's going to have a lot of difficulty trying to push and roam. It's going to be far more about how he manages to sneak in roams with base timings. And we see immediately a DC from Mubu and most likely a pause.
If you look at the old chat, it's just like step right, coach is gone.
Oh,
Mubu
no.
coaching.
Oh,
Another centerpiece of the conversation. How can they possibly win?
exactly.
The heart is gone. The heart is no more.
Oh dear. Yeah, definitely would be expecting to see possibly a topside start from Mubu here into the level 2 gank from Camille. This would enable also the bottom lane to fight for priority early. And although both the level 1s from each team aren't fantastic, you have to say that being enabled the priority in bottom lane is going to be critical for how this early game shapes up.
I mean, I'm just casually admiring the background scenery. My game is like stuck in
Oh,
like the
lovely.
mountains. There's like a bunch of trees and stuff. In the background is some kind of tower or like arch. And I think that's the right obviously. I put
And
all
we
this
are
together.
unpaused and on the rift. Ooh.
Oh, good.
Oh
Oh,
dear.
good. I can finally watch Champions moving around instead of
No, no, no.
seeing.
It's time to admire more scenery.
Okay. I mean, I'm just looking around, man. I mean, how cool is this thing at the top left? Like, look at that.
Oh,
It's like there's some kind of river, and just like he's doing a zigzag around. Oh, wait, I'm in, maybe. Okay, that might be more interesting.
absolutely, yeah. So seeing the 5-man stuck in an unconventional bush from Mubu Law Coaching, definitely looking for some action early on.
You know what I hope? Somebody just starts with like the sleeping, and then just like shoots over the wall.
Oh yes.
This type of 300 IQ player I would expect from a team with a middle wall coaching at the back. Hey, you reckon anyone will like watch this game and think, wait, middle office coaching? I need to get in on this.
Exactly, and you can find more Mubu coaching offers and more at www.leaguecoaching.gg.
Hey, do we have like a promo code like for the stream viewers here?
Actually, that would be great if I did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those do not exist at this stage, but
Well, I mean,
I'm
you can't
sure.
discount the coaching. The coaching pricing.
Exactly.
It's good to go. It's killing that red bug right now.
And yes, so we're seeing the start of Red Buff first, most likely to contest this scuttle, if not into the level 2 gank. So we are seeing the level 2 gank mid.
Well,
Predicting the flash into the ignite, and that is first blood, a very well-deserved first blood from Mubu.
I mean, that was a chess game, like right there. Like, maybe he was playing like a chess game with Quickcaster, and the Quickcaster's like, I'm gonna flash into your E.
Exactly.
Oh man, maybe didn't even flash, man. That's how good he is. I mean, who will stop this monster? He's going bot lane now. Oh wait, no, he's getting stuff.
Yeah, so
Oh wait, no, he is going bot lane.
Oh
Look
wow.
at this monster.
So
He's ready for another kill.
yeah. No, interestingly, we see Ivan pick up this first scuttle on that side of the map. He has already cleared all of his bot side and it's all of his top side, and now heading down, most likely to complete his full clear before looking for any sort of pressure. One thing we do see about Ivan is some unconventional pathing, but for now, it seems that everything is very conventional.
Oh, you can't really contest Scuttle against Ivan. If you want to Scuttle, it's one of those champions.
Absolutely, and we're seeing a very successful gank from Mubu.
It's a Mubu game, dude. Let's stop this madman. Are you just using like the other camera?
Yeah, I'm just direct to cam.
So you're like on the top lane?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So I'd like to take credit for like the strategy that I simply like. I told him everything he knows about Mundo. I told him about like how to stack a bunch of damage to your opponent. So like I don't think he did it this game. But,
is this the infamous 60 damage on the tower strategy?
I think it was 6 damage. But,
oh, 6 damage. Oh, even better.
That's a principle. You know what I mean? Like, okay, imagine this, right? You're like casually AFK, or you're like looking after like the buffs or something, right? Like you're looking after your buffs. Then all of a sudden, this Mundo goes up your top lane turret, and you're like, oh, that's like one time. then he just dies to the turret, and you're not there to get the experience, and you think to yourself, damn it, if I was there, I would have been a first blood for sure. And then that eats away at them. Like they start doubting themselves. So like, was it really the right idea to compromise on this path? And then while they're psychologically damaged, that's when you solo kill them. Then all of a sudden they're troubled. Their decision making is impaired. They don't trust what they're doing anymore. So yeah, that's basically everything I told them about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. The perfect crime. Never can be seen coming.
I mean, try it in your end games. It might work out, or it might backfire. One or the other.
That seems like a risky decision.
Yeah, it's probably something I do while George on.
Yeah, in the time that we've been talking away, we've seen bottom lane DC and reconnect, and the rest of the map has definitely stagnated for the time being.
One thing I want to point out is, didn't Bruce get like a pentakill or something like the last time he played Jinx against, sorry, in the Community Rumble final?
Possibly, yes. No, definitely last year, the Big Duck Bobbies were an unstoppable force in the Uni Rumble. Contested only by... Actually, I don't even remember who was there last year.
I'm not sure. I think.
God damn it.
Ooh. The only saving grace I think they have is that Zoe doesn't have cleanse. So, like later on in the game, if he have like flash gold cards, there's a chance to kill someone.
Yes, definitely. And we see Zoe taking Airy over Spellbook that's normally favored by a lot of these other Zoe players. And we see a possible solo kill coming through, and step right, he just abused the flash that TF had no flash. And
Yeah, I'm
a very
surprised he didn't try to sidestep that. It was just no attempt whatsoever. And Say in trouble now. Mundo coming in. Mundo coming in with a cleaver. Mumu, very low HP. Can cut. Oh, you can turn.
and a
Oh.
very unfortunate attempt from KUW112.
Oh, look at Say. He's gonna try and kill this guy. No chance.
Unfortunately, the Ivan not quite the 1v1 powerhouse of the Zoe. And we're definitely seeing this bot lane turn out somewhat what we expected. An early lead given to the Kai'Sa and just able to be maintained. This Leona pick is very dependent on being able to create and maintain a lead in this lane. Otherwise, the champion doesn't really get to do much.
Yeah, I think it's just like a safety pick, right? Like you pick Leona, and like if they pick an enchanter support on the other side, then like it means you have kill pressure, and if they go like tank support, then basically it becomes a farm lane. So I think
Yeah.
they got what they wanted to be honest.
Definitely. The pressure of the Leona, not matched by many champions, but unfortunately also not able to pick up much in this lane, and in a critical lane, in a lane that's so critical for them. Unfortunate to see a deficit this early in the game.
Yeah, I mean there is still an opportunity here for ultimate. The only lane you can really look to is probably bot lane. I don't think top lane is killable anymore. Once you get like the Spectre's Count Mundo, it's kind of like you can't really die to TF games. No one like it's double AP here, and like even the jungle's AP, just no chance.
Absolutely.
So TF really just has to look towards bot side if they want any chance of getting kills.
And the Mundo lane is very...
Wow,
I'm seeing a Hex Flash over.
Oh, never mind. Mundo's nowhere near.
Ooh. The Rysar to chase, and we're seeing Mubu getting
Mumu in
locked up.
trouble! Mumu in trouble! Oh shit. Alright. Mumu culture.
Very good language. Oh.
Yeah, a little
Seeing
bit
the
aggressive move because he didn't have his top lane to follow. Although I'm not sure why, because Mundo would have been like full HP, so you should have followed.
Absolutely, no, yeah, definitely a form of miscommunication there. To see the top laner not follow theirs down.
Yeah, I think the important thing is you just need to walk. It didn't matter how slow, like, at walking there, but you just need to start walking. And
Absolutely.
that would have probably been the game if he had. So it's
Camille
not
dying there
really
is
down.
definitely a way back in for the Big Duck Bobbies, relieving a small amount of the pressure from the tempo that Camille was generating.
Yeah, I mean, if you damage the brain of the Movable coaching team, that being Mubu,
Oh,
you have a
absolutely.
chance to disrupt their psychological battle. Just all it is, really. I
This game
mean,
is just all psychological warfare. There is nothing more.
isn't that else find the irony that like Ice is just playing the Toxic Mumbo skin?
Oh, of course.
It
Oh dear.
is called Toxic Wonder, right?
It
It
is.
is. Yeah. Like I don't even it's uncanny. Oh, look at that. He like literally missed the cue so they could oh, what a trade. Never mind.
No, definitely very difficult to trade when you have no cooldowns up, but just trying to get the passive off. We see we see Zoe take the worst end of that trade. Infernal has been up for quite a large amount of time. Definitely
Is
will
Jinx
be.
not gonna take a red?
No,
Because like when Ivan kills the buff, we can give her the buff.
definitely.
And Jinx is just ignoring it. This so is how so is
Jinx
Leona.
far more concerned with trying to get tempo in the lane than retrieving the red buff that would be free for that.
Well, it's pretty important, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
nicely done with
yes,
like Alistar and this thing. And true damage is like a pretty big deal.
definitely. And seeing
It's
the
even good
deficit
on
that's
Leona.
yeah, seeing the deficit that's already built up, it'd be something very
Goodbye,
useful. And we're
Siri.
seeing, unfortunately, Ivan caught out and just evaporated.
Yeah, you can't really do that when you don't have any lane priority. I mean, like mid lane's pushed in, your Leona Jinx lane is pushed in. Like, you're never gonna have your team coming first, so you can't
Absolutely.
really do that.
No, the lack of river control just bleeds into both objectives and picks whenever tried to contest it.
Yeah, and the other problem is that like you don't even win the 1v1. Like Ivan just gets owned by Camille. So wow, what is that damage?
Mundo doing
Like
Mundo
Ryze is
things.
actually really good. Like in my opinion, like I've seen Ryze like play quite a bit. The top lane is kind of like either the enemy top lane champion has a way to do it or they don't. And if they don't have a way to deal with it, then like the Ryze is just free farm and eventually win the lane.
Absolutely. Interestingly, though, picking Mundo into a double AP composition is traditionally, oh yeah, in history has been an excellent answer. And with very few double AP comps being played now in competitive, it's interesting to see uh, Mundo being taken like in his ideal scenario, even as a strong champion when not in his ideal scenario. We're seeing another gank mid
Ooh.
into a very easy kill picked up by Mubu.
Yeah, I mean that's just too free. If you have like a wall on that side of the map, then nothing you can do to the flash Camille time. Especially when you don't have flash until
Absolutely. No, it's this mid laner is definitely suffering from not being able to generate priority and having a weaker priority jungler, unfortunately. Not able to secure the vision and punished with the kill by Mubu.
yeah. I think that at this time, he actually just uses ulti to back him. I mean, he actually can't gank any lanes. Based on what we saw like earlier with like Bryce kind of chunking down Mundo, like there'll be an opportunity to go there, but I don't think TF can actually step past the halfway point of the lane, so he's never going to get an opportunity to really ultimate.
Yes, definitely. So coming into what we were discussing at the start of the game with TF being unable to actually shove in this lane, as we see another gank come in top, but relatively unsuccessful. You just see Ryze shoving him in and him and Mundo sustaining up the damage.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really gank Mundo from 100% HP, you have to kind of wait until it's already 50%. I don't know why Dota 2 goes for that, but yeah. I guess the rest of this team is sad.
looks like a lot burnt, but no harm, no foul, and everyone walks away.
Mhm. But I mean, like this already kind of shows like the weaknesses in the big up bodies team comp. Like there's not really much they can do except like they don't really have much ways to like catch people, right? I mean, they're all kind of like line skill shots, except for like the Bryce W. But it's all so short range, whereas there's always competition here. Like they get to pick the fights, and they can easily pick them up as well.
Absolutely, the Camille Zoe, very famous for their extreme range for and their extreme potential for picks. Definitely outdoing uh, picks such as TF and the Leona that are also known for their pick potential, but not as long range as these others.
I think at this point they should just focus on trying to get their Jinx ahead. I mean, maybe 2 item Jinx, and they can maybe make play. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you think he's
definitely
going for here?
with the advent of with the addition of Storm Raiders, Storm Razor, should I say, we see 80 carries spiking at 2 items now rather than the 3 items that it would normally take.
Does it take pickaxe to build Stormrays?
Sorry?
Do you build Stormrays out of pickaxe?
Yes, so pickaxe, BF, and dagger builds into Storm Razor now.
Yeah, so maybe like 2 more items. If he gets a Stormrays and then like a seal item and an iron, I think he can probably carry.
Oh, definitely, no, 3 items. We're looking at a very strong Jinx, despite having an early deficit, for sure. The issue is we're also looking at a very strong Kai'Sa. And we're seeing another play coming in the top lane, and ooh, a very nice flash to get out of what seemed like a certain death scenario.
I think like hypothetically, Big Duck obviously have a good late game team comp. It's just getting as good use of tough. If you look at all the champions on Mugu's team, they all spike like much earlier. I mean, the Kai'Sa only really needs 1 item to spike, maybe 2 at most. But you look at like Zoria, she's already doing triple damage, and then Camille, same thing. But you look at like the enemy team comp, they only need like 3 items before they're actually useful. Like the Jinx needs like 3 items, like the Leona and Ivern don't really do much because their usefulness is based almost entirely of how useful they carry. And Bryce is like the same thing. Like he needs items. TF like he's literally not going to do anything until he gets like maybe like a Lich Bane and then like an Hourglass. Like this is so tough for him right now.
Oh, definitely. And seeing first item Archangels come through from Rise is a little worrying, seeing that the Roa won't be stacking. I'm very doubtful that he'll be able to build any sort of catalyst item at all.
I think he just wanted that early game power spike. Like he knows that they're behind, so they feel like a immediate power spike as opposed to doing catalyst, which doesn't really do anything for you at this point.
Definitely. No,
But it does delay the inevitable renovated spike. So
yeah, which is unfortunate. However, we have been seeing some interesting Rise builds coming out of recent, especially a popular item, Shurelya's, has come up quite a lot.
is that still a thing after the changes?
Yes, even after the changes.
Interesting. Oh, because of mana regen, right? Because it added mana regen, which traditionally, like the champions that use it, for example, Vladimir, they don't want mana, but exactly, I guess Rise kind of does.
No, Vladimir definitely has been trending towards the Twin Shadows rather than the Shurelya's because of that. But Shurelya's has still been a popular item on Rise this patch.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about TF, like which I was talking about before, is even TF is a little bit more of like a support champion in this game. I mean, I'm not really looking at him for his damage. I'm looking at him more for like the yellow card. Like they just need to like 5-man peel for like this Jinx. I mean, just look at this right now. Or I think starting to do damage, and she only has like 1 item.
Yes, definitely. That Storm Razor spike is not to be laughed at.
It's one of those things where like, yeah, the Jinx is like 30 sets down, but I mean, like at the end of the day, like the champion itself is just worth more.
Definitely, if they're able to.
I think it's a kill. It's a kill.
It is a kill. That's the Zoe going down for virtually nothing.
Yeah, this is
Just
the problem with not taking cleanse and Zoe. And he gets punished for not flashing as well. So I think that's a little bit cockiness coming out. Or just like window shopping.
definitely don't want to be caught in the shop when you've got a TF on the other team. As we'll see, possibly an attempted dive coming out of the top lane.
You need to be careful about this one.
Definitely no. Diving in Alistar is always a tough ordeal.
And
We'll
the TF's
see
gonna break out here. with
Kai'Sa come
TP.
in. The Mundo TPing in
Okay,
early,
good
and we're
flash, good
seeing.
flash, but he's still dead.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, they need to get out here. There's no way they can win the fight. If they keep fighting, they're just gonna go.
No resets on the Jinx. She's not able to manage herself.
Lotus
Ends
is
up
really low,
dropping. Oh, but the Jinx is already dead. We see the Rise popping off.
Whoa, this Rise popping
Wow.
off! Look at him go. He can kill Mubu if he gets a W up.
Definitely.
Maybe if he doesn't get a W up, he still gets a kill. W's up though. Oh, look at that blind kid from Bush. Holy shit! Goku, go!
And we're seeing the pop.
Gold one by the
substitute
way.
top lane.
Gold one by the way.
Oh dear.
I think they can kill him. No, what are you doing, Rise? Why are you? Oh, he tried to give it over to Jinx.
And
Oh,
we'll
this
see.
guy's popping off. Gold one by the way. Gold one Rise top.
Oh dear. Just like the Plat 5 mid lane superstar coming out of Unigames last year from UWA.
Oh, you mean the old Nazomi was?
Oh,
I
yes.
beam dodge.
Oh
That was
no, I
very
beat
top lane.
dodge.
No, but on seriousness, like I think like that fight, they just got so cocky. I mean, they already won the fight, right? And they just like they chased into stuff and they like focused around targets. They needed to focus the same thing.
Absolutely.
And of course, like the Kai'Sa like going in on like 0 mana and like 20% HP. I mean, you can't really do much, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, the Rise being able to kite out that fight and just get the damage on the back end was incredibly beneficial. And we can see the prowess of this comp when it does. It is able to kite the initial engage and doesn't necessarily get all the picks that are required to win the fight.
And that's what I mean by like why he decided to skip the Rod of Ages earlier, right? I mean, if you go Rod of Ages, like he wouldn't have had that complete. So the Rowan itself like isn't really that much AP. It's more like you see HP, right? And like a
Definitely,
bit more
no.
mana. But like because he just went for the Arcane just immediately and like I guess Morella as well. He's very squishy, but he just has so much damage, and that's what they needed to overcome the couple thousand gold deficit there.
A very heads up build path from the Rise, and we're seeing a possible engage onto Mubu. Left
Ooh,
hitting the
nice.
Life hitting everything, and Mubu just goes down.
And Dota 2's got to run for his life now.
There is no way he is getting away from that. We see Rise pick up another kill. This Rise out to 7-1 when the game was looking very poor at one stage. And we'll see the chase continuing on to this Alistar. And they'll look to pick up the Alistar as a reasonably... Oh no, a tough kill to get, definitely. And just...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ironic that we thought that the Jinx would carry, but actually it's looking like the Rise is going to carry this one.
Definitely, no.
Ooh. Oh, he should not have used his ulti there. Whoa! I feel like he should have died for that one. It works out well.
No, definitely. And although the Rise dropping, we do see the Alistar dropping in return. And looking for resets to come out of most of the team. Interestingly, this Jinx is staying around, which should indicate that there's someone else nearby.
Yeah, one
And
thing
Dota 2
people don't
picks up
really
on
realize in this patch is that you have to be careful when you like have a massive amount of kills, right? Like this Rise, he would have given up like 600 gold for like to one play on any game. So the Zoe picked up 650 gold by killing the Rise, and like it's like one of those champions you can't really give kills to, like Zoe. She's like the type of champion that will like just stall out a game indefinitely. Like if you're trying to do an objective, right, and then Zoe hits the 80 carry and chunks like 75% HP, and they don't have lifesteal. Because I mean, let's face it, right? Like, lifesteal got nerfed again, like the 80 carry this patch. With like the fleet footwork getting nerfed once more. But he get chunked, he can't really recover that HP. So yeah, it's really bad to give Zoe like kills him. And especially when
Absolutely
like
agree.
we're not even contesting dragons here, so this is like actually a dragon which like they really needed in order to deal with like the Pokemon game. And it's good on Rise as well. Lucky. Interesting build coming out from Kai'Sa though. Ashes too.
Yeah,
Is that something you
definitely
see out
looking towards the AP Kai'Sa build. Uh, that's been slightly buffed this patch, but is still arguably preferable. But yeah, definitely that Rage Blade going into Nash's was expected.
I mean, like, have you seen the Zonyas like from the LPL?
Yes, yes. Since
Yeah,
Onya's on.
that seems insane. I mean, you need a huge amount of mechanics to pull it off properly, like game sense mechanics to pull it. But otherwise, like they're like playing a fancy play character. You sort of take like Hourglass, and you just can't. It's like you don't get any offensive stats. But Kai'Sa's one of those champions where you can actually go Hourglass, and you get that outplay potential, and you get that spine ability.
Absolutely. Being able to dive the backline and have your team follow up while you are in Zhonya's is an incredible asset on a champion like Kai'Sa who has easy access to that backline.
Yeah, the only thing is, I'm not sure how much I like in this game. A lot of the stuff you can't really avoid even if you like Hourglass. I mean, like everything that's hitting you right is basically an auto attack or like a really fast like hitting spell that's like local now. And then once you come out of your Hourglass, you just get chain CC by Leona and like yellow card.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely relying if they do go the Hourglass build on the ability for the team to follow up and Big Dot Bobby is unable to kite out the initial engage from Kai'Sa and whoever she follows up with.
I would say that's a bit of a ticking time bomb here. I mean, like Jinx is one item away from that huge spike. Once she gets the Infinity Edge, it'll be a game.
No, definitely. If Jinx being enabled in
Ooh,
these
nice
fights, oh, and we're seeing a fight break out. The Alistair hitting 3-man combo before trying to kite out the fight. We see the TF hit red card and the AoE forcing everyone to just back out. And Jinx getting her first reset. Mundo completing the TP.
Huge flash. Yeah, that seems like a bit of a mistake there.
Very interesting plays out of Mubu Law coaching, but we'll see Big Doc Bobbies pick up the 3 for nothing. And an aggressive flash coming out of the Ivan, but in the end, not much lost out of it, not much gain for it either. We'll see a tier 2 go down, possibly an inhib tower be contested, or they may just run straight to the Baron.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those fights, right? With like a little bit of lack of coordination from like the team of Mubu Law coaching. For example, like the TP difference was like quite huge. Well, Mubu's the same team. I don't know.
That is
but like,
very unfortunate.
TP came out really late. If it hadn't come out at the same time as Rise TP, I think that fight would have gone a lot better. You can actually see that the side of Mubu Law coaching actually had the edge early. I mean, I think Zoe landed like a sleepy double onto like the TF, and like I think if at that moment Mundo started the TP, the front line, like the Mundo threat from like that TP, would allow the back line of coaching to attack. But instead they had to fall back, and so they couldn't capitalize on the story push.
100% agree. The TP not being there meant that there was no pressure coming out of this Mundo until it was far too late for him to be effective and just walked into a team and died.
It's not an insurmountable lead by me. From my perspective, like the double fire drake is pretty massive here. So
absolutely.
Even if you have a slightly worse team fighting composition, like in my opinion, like Fishing have an inferior team fighting composition, right? But it's not to the point where like 2 fire drakes can't stop it. And there we go.
Zoe
like,
just doing Zoe things, and we'll see Bruce being taken down.
Oh, well what a lucky draw! RNG in my League of Legends, man.
Oh dear.
Like that's actually bullshit. Like look at that. I bet you like they got like Ben Brooks like to sign as champion. It's like, hey man, like I heard you like random effects.
Oh, I love it. And we'll see a Baron being started by Mubu Law coaching and picked up.
Is Mubu dead? Oh, never mind. JK. Oh, he is dead.
He is dead, absolutely, yeah. Running into that
I
Rise.
Incorrectly.
That Rise is incredibly strong.
Oh, nice
but not strong enough for Zoe to still do Zoe things. We
Yeah, there's
see,
just double fire Drake shit coming out. Like,
definitely. We're seeing late
right,
game
yeah.
Kai'Sa and Zoe are still both incredibly terrifying threats, even if it's not necessarily in the team fight scenario that Ryze and Jinx both excel.
Dude, this is all part of Step Rise Master. Oh, well, no, not Step Rise Master Plan. Mover's
Oh,
Master
it's
Plan. He
always
goes,
Mubu's master
guys,
plan.
let's feed Rise. Like, and they're like, what do you mean, Mover? Why should we feed Rise? And he goes, don't doubt me. If we feed up his kill count, he'll kill out more gold and get shut down. Right? And I'm like looking at this stuff, and it's like at 22 minutes, Zoe kills like Rise for 650. And then 28 minutes, he kills Rise again 500 gold. Like, this is some like next level chess going on, right? It's like, if you feed the Rise and then you give it to your Zoe, then Zoe gets mega fed.
Oh,
It's all
without
part
a
of the
doubt.
master plan.
Looking for the long-term investment. We always know you have to diversify. Oh dear. Alright. Coming back to the game, we're looking at a Baron up red side, Muvu lower coaching with 4 Drakes, 2 Ocean, 2 Fire. And we all know that double Ocean is 1 Ocean maybe alright for lane phase, but double Ocean is where it starts becoming serious, especially out of lane phase, and you're looking at stats similar to the very old Season 4 Baron buff where we saw incredible regen, especially if you're out of combat.
I mean, they just need to wait that Baron buff. I mean, their team comp is still very good, even though they're down 4 dragons. Crucially, the
Yes,
2 fire drakes, right? But
absolutely. And of course, they do have a rise. They do have the wave clear. It's just trying to stall out as best they can. It's unlikely that these tier 2s will survive. Mubu lore coaching, most likely looking for the mid tier 2 next, and not much more to be gained unless a fight breaks out here. And we see the Alistair possibly getting picked off.
yeah, how long on the W for, right?
And Luff being impatient on pulling the E, but being able to pick up, ooh, and a flash over the wall from Ryze,
Whoa,
possibly
what a crazy
aggressive.
play.
And we see
Maybe
the
a little bit
stopwatch
too
coming out of
aggressive.
Mubu, and Mubu just playing that fight so perfectly. And we'll see possibly an ace coming out for the team of Mubu lower coaching. No, this TF is going to get away, not going to look to proxy the wave, instead looking to defend as best as he can from at least one inhib, if not more, in terms of Nexus towers. Could this be the game beamer?
I think it's probably the game here.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna
looking,
hit him.
definitely looking like it, especially with a lot of damage coming out of the Zoe, able to pick up the kill, and we see the first game coming out in the favor of Mubu lore coaching.
Yeah, it's just one of those classical like Alistar moments, right? It's like you deliberately get caught out to get the game. Just Movie probably like told him to do that. It's like Mitch Bain, you're gonna get caught right now. What do you mean I'm gonna get caught right now? Just get caught and we'll win the game. Like that.
Oh, absolutely right. Alright, we will be back after a very brief break. It should be a maximum of 5 minutes, and we'll see you guys then. and we are getting back into it, audio enabled, and Pikman starting up. So definitely will be interesting to see if they run a similar comp. This time with Mark Ma rather than KUW 112, the Aatrox Prodigy. Definitely fair enough to see the Aatrox ban straight out of the gate. What else do you, oh, the Zoe ban, a respect ban, first step right. What else would you think to see change up in this draft, Beamer?
Well, I'd like to see a Bryce ban here. I mean, the funny thing about last game, right, is that, in my opinion, right, this is a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I bet you Makma was on that top account, and that's like his Rise only account, and now it's back in his main account, and then like he's gonna mind game him here, and he's gonna pick Rise again. Mark my words. Get it? Because his name's Makma.
Oh, absolutely. Oh dear.
What have I done? Go back.
Oh dear. All right.
Oh dear, what have I done? Hell.
It would be interesting to see Mark Ma, definitely a known bruiser player, playing Rise top, but I mean anything can happen. Definitely.
Oh wait, I could go one step further. Mark my words. Oh man.
Oh wow.
Okay, we should
Mark my words. Oh,
mark my words, mate.
very good.
Very
Alright, so some interesting bans, seeing the Tahm Kench and the Anivio coming out. Not bans that I'd say would be characteristic of many of the players on the Big Duck Bobbies side. And again, we see the Graves left up and a first pick Kai'Sa. So there are definitely answers to this champion that I'm sure Bruce can play. It's whether or not he is willing to play them is the larger question.
Yeah, I mean,
And
they don't seem to put much priority onto Kai'Sa.
yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
And they first pick Lee Sin for Seiyu, a staple pick for the player, and Luff back on that Leona, it seems.
I do like the Lee Sin pick here, especially because really just felt like they didn't have much pressure in the jungle because I mean Ivan's not really good. You need the support. Whereas in this case, Lee Sin alone can actually win the skirmish.
Yes, definitely. Lee Sin, a very good early skirmisher jungler, and with the importance of the level 2 into Scuttle, would be an interesting pick to see. However, Mubu also known for his Lee Sin, and I'm sure he has some answers of his own. Looking for the Camille the second time. Oh, and we didn't even talk about the Syndra. Syndra.
Yeah, I mean, Syndra's a very lane dominant champion, and you have to be very careful against it, especially Camille Syndra. I mean, if you get stunned by Ivan, you're pretty much dead. So, whatever their mid laner is, I would have to expect they'll take clear.
Absolutely no. A very easy lane to set up the ganks and a high kill threat lane. But you could say the same about the other side of the matchup in terms of Syndra, a very immobile champion. Definitely a target for Lee post 6.
I tend to agree. This Darius pick, I'm a big fan of. Obviously, in this type of tournament, you always want to, you kind of want to like abuse the lanes that are like loyal, like they're kind of like low skill level, like realistically. So, like Mark obviously being like a challenge dive player, you should just pick a lane on the champion like Darius that can stumble really hard, and then it'll kind of force Mubu to have to like camp, and then yeah, that still might not really do anything.
Definitely Darius, a champion known by infamous among lower MMRs as just someone that takes over the game, and definitely in the upper echelons of Challenger, you see Darius one tricks pop up every now and then. The most notable one being a few months ago in Korea, actually peaking rank 1. So the champion definitely not, yeah, definitely not to be laughed at. But,
yeah, I definitely think Darius is pretty good top lane. I mean, I see it quite often challenge as well. So if there is like that skill disparity, it's quite a problematic pick.
Absolutely.
Why we saw it getting banned last game, right? Oh, hey, did we?
I think we did, yes. No, you're right. In the first rotation. I don't remember by which side, but yes, no,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
an
it was
interesting
actually Big Duck Bobbies that banned it, which was pretty weird.
Oh, interesting.
I'm
I
pretty
guess,
sure that
yeah,
Halloween
no.
doesn't play it.
Maybe wanting to see, maybe they were planning for the Rise pick and instead were looking for champions that possibly were in the skill level of Ice, could actually give Rise a very hard time.
Cool, this is a bit of a death ball comp we see here, like Swain, Darius, Leon, Sin.
Yeah, definitely. No, it looks like a comp that's incredibly fearsome to just run at you. But the question is, like, how did they get there?
I'd like to see I like to see a Sivir pick here. Just, I
Absolutely.
just
No,
think
the
it's
Sivir would round out this comp perfectly. Anyone that's able to enable this comp from the AD carry role, which obviously Sivir coming to mind as the primary pick, uh, but others such as Tristana as well, obviously not as good for uh, enabling the rest of the team to follow up, but able to get around and navigate the fight that would ensue as this team is definitely going forward. They are not cutting back.
I think I'll be pretty disappointed if they don't. Oh, MF is actually a really good pick here. It's not very dependent on being peeled for, but oh, it's gonna be MF or Callisto. Looks like they're trying to
Interesting, and it
decide.
is the Tristana being picked up.
I really would have liked to see the MF there actually. I think MF is a really good pick. It's lane dominant, works really well with
Absolutely.
Leona.
Yeah, no,
Works well with
MF.
the team comp. Huge win rate at the moment as well, so
Oh, really
I'm kind of
interesting.
disappointed.
I mean, historically, when there have been major item changes around the AD role, MF has been the first to benefit before uh, ensuing nerfs. And yeah, on this patch, definitely no exception. But of course, the Tristana actually being picked up, and we'll see how these comps definitely have separate identities in how they want to interact. Uh, yeah, we have another 3 minutes of spectator delay, in which we get to talk about what could ensue. And I think critically, uh, we see that the Syndra Camille, uh, although they'll have a lot of early pressure, they'll get to a point where Swain will just be unkillable.
Mm, yeah, actually, I tend to agree here. When you have short range AD carry, it's kind of like the Kai'Sa. Can't really hit the swing without being inside its ultimate range, right? And you have a lot of risk involved because you have all of these kind of CC abilities, so let swing drag you back in. But then again, Kai'Sa also has an ultimate reposition, so it'll be interesting to see how the Kai'Sa kind of plays around it. And the thing about this comp is that whichever one kind of gets really far ahead, I mean, if this Darius and Swain gets like, if that comp gets ahead, they just run at you, just simply don't do enough damage.
Absolutely, this comp being able to run into you, a flank from Darius or engage from Leona or Lee Sin is going to be highly problematic for the team of Movie Law coaching.
Yeah, completely agree. I do like the flash goes coming out from Darius. This is like a very common Darius strategy that you see. It's really hard to peel off Darius when it's kind of flash goes. Like even two people can't really peel him off. It's like a kind of fed. So it'll be interesting to see how he abuse that. If he gets a couple of kills in top lane, it's going to be really
Absolutely, it's going to be very difficult for Mundo to deal with that. And seeing that they haven't forgone the option of TP by taking it on the Swain, we will see normal macro come out around the Baron at 20 minutes and not having to pigeonhole themselves into forcing a TP before they're allowed to sack the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I bet you right now, like with the low coaching stand, it's like play careful, like just don't feed, and I will carry. I bet you anything. It's like these lines are coming out right now. It's like just don't feed top lane, I will carry.
Oh dear.
But
That
like
is
that's definitely the case, right? Because Darius is being conditioned in and of itself. I mean, once you start falling behind, like you can't even like touch your turret anymore. It's gonna dive repeatedly.
absolutely no. It's even it gets to a point even staying even. Uh, it's still difficult to stay under your tower because unless you have an answer to the Darius damage, and of course, although his passive not giving grievous wounds anymore, which would have been an even rougher time for Mundo.
I don't think Darius ever gave Grievous wounds. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh, you may be right. I believe the 5-stack passive did probably when the Juggernaut changes came through,
Okay.
but uh,
It
I may
sounds
be
pretty
wrong.
broken, but
Yep.
then again, he was
To be
pretty
fair,
broken.
it was very broken. Yeah.
So like I don't doubt you, like in that respect.
Yeah.
You could have just chucked on like 5 random effects. You could just be like, when Darius has 5 stacks of passive against Grievous Moons and plus 5 AD and like plus 5 movement speed, and you just chuck on like random stats. And it's like, when he goes his opponent, he gains an additional 50 gold. Like,
Oh
I mean,
dear.
this sounds like the type of shit they do in like champions these days. Like, you look at Pike and it's like, oh, let's give him an ultimate that just, gives like 300 gold to like the guys who KS drum. Like, it's so unnecessary.
Oh dear. No, Pike is definitely another issue in itself. But
Yeah, I think Pike's overpowered, but we'll find out.
I have no, honestly, that champion is a puzzle in itself.
I think the champion's good. I mean, like, if the day one consensus isn't that it's garbage, probably broken.
Oh dear. And just waiting for the teams to load in before we'll bring you onto the Rift. Uh, only Morgana not at 100%, and now just ticking up to that now. It will be very shortly before we are getting underway.
I actually think this game will go in favor of the Big Duck Bobbies.
Yeah, no, definitely. From comps, it's a far easier execution than Mobile Law coaching. And in this kind of a tournament, ease of execution is going to be a critical factor for sure. And we see the teams loading up onto the Rift, 5 seconds in, and they'll get onto the Rift very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I want to point out, right? Like, there's a few areas still coming back. I think not much will happen bot lane. I think bot lane will be relatively even. I think both lanes do have like the potential to gank, but I don't think people will be looking towards the bot lane for the gank. The 2 lanes to look out for is firstly top lane. Um, I think Darius will actually get a solo kill if they're left alone together, which kind of drives me to actually come top side. However, I also think mid lane is very important to look at because there is no cleanse in the swing.
Ooh,
Uh,
and a great level 1 from Movie Law coaching, netting them a first blood with only the flash and the ignite of Morgana being burnt.
Yeah, I think he failed a splash there. Otherwise, he would have always flashed an angle.
Absolutely, no, it's the nerves getting to him in such a high pressure scenario, Beamer.
Yeah. At least Morgana got the kill. So, and you can't even upgrade your item off that, so it's not too bad.
No,
He just goes for the Ruby Crystal
a
instead,
Ruby
which,
Crystal, not a very strong base, so not
uh,
not going to see much of an impact in the bottom lane from that first blood.
why would you even buy Ruby Crystal? I mean, like, you can't even build that into anything, right? Not for a
Yeah.
while.
So it's the first item. Wait, does Shirley's even build out of that? I think it does.
Yeah, it does, but I don't think you go first time Shirley's.
Uh, yeah, no, the very aggressive Morgana goes Shirley's Twin Shadows, but uh,
Wouldn't you
that
just get
is
boost? Like, oh, unless he's got the boost mastering, which I guess he probably does.
I definitely would have got a lot out of that. Interesting to see last game,
You know,
especially no banners being built in a banner centric. Oh, definitely.
yeah, Banner's broken. I don't know why I had to go with it. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen Cloth Armor come out actually. I think Cloth Armor on Morgana would
Oh,
have been better.
yeah, definitely. No, in this lane, that has a lot of potential to all in. Seeing something like that would have been uh, really helpful for her early landing prowess, which is all that first blood is going to be for.
It makes sense when like the jungler is AD as well. So like you have 2 ADs. So your Cloth Armor is like pretty huge value.
Definitely. And we do see a pause coming in and rapidly restarted.
And then it builds into like your Hourglass and like your I think Banner builds out of armor as well. Like everything builds out of armor.
Yes, no,
Like your Locket, your Banner, your Hourglass.
yeah. Unless you're looking for AP itemization, the cloth armor is a very useful utility item.
Well, I guess he didn't want to spend 300 gold as opposed to 400, so fair enough.
Understandable. It's definitely interesting that he didn't invest any in like using the rest of the 300 gold possibly for a control ward early. So Lee Sin level 2, although most likely not being attempted, is definitely a possibility.
I mean, Morgana doesn't have flash, so there's an opportunity there. But without red buff and Lee Sin, I don't think it's like
It is
I don't
very
think
difficult
it's
to net anything more than a chunk. But yeah, the no flash available does make it slightly more enticing.
I mean, the literal only way you can pull that off is if like Left takes E level 1, and then like Tristana takes a rocket jump.
Yeah,
I mean, like realistically, it's gonna do that, right? It's no way.
agreed.
And then if he does that, then maybe it's just gonna take some time to outside jungle. So
It would seem that the reason for the pause is the top laner of Big Doc Bobbies is lagging. Now this is the same top laner that was substituted out last game because he was unavailable. And
probably
now,
lagging.
oh dear. Uh, but now he is in the game and unfortunately lagging.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the
that's what.
problem, right? Because we're looking for him to carry this game. So if he can't carry it, then
No, it's very difficult. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's still potential in the other lanes, but we are. Oh
that was a
wow.
really good sidestep. But damn, look at that
Oh
damage.
wow. What? Oh my god.
Wait,
Okay,
wait,
that
what
was
the hell just happened? Okay.
holy. The solo kill out of Dota 2. That
That's not a
was.
solo kill, isn't it? That's like Morgana, like
Oh,
landing
did
the
Morgana
perfect.
auto? Okay, yeah, no, my
No, the perfect like zoning stun. And that's also left like not blocking for him. I mean, I don't
No.
even blame Bruce for that one.
No, I mean, multiple accounts don't blame Bruce. Absolutely, that
I mean, dodging
damage
that skill
was
shot though was huge.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just rewatching it now. So if you actually look at it, right, it's like left is kind of like okay. So the Triss is like trying to auto attack the creep, and then like left is like walks away. And the Triss gets...
No pressure. It's time for you to die.
So like as in like if you're Bruce, right, firstly you're not gonna use skill anyway because you don't think you get hit by it because Leona was in front of you at the time, right? And then secondly, I think the reason why it did so much damage is because there's like the maximum procs onto Tristana Kaiser's passive. And then
Yes.
like the W, I think it landed, and it does like a huge amount of damage anyway, like base damage.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it procs like the
Oh, it's
which does
interesting
percentage
because
missing damage HP.
yeah,
I think.
base damage nerfs onto Kai'Sa this game on that W, and more towards the AP scaling now. It's interesting to see again that much damage coming out. Obviously not just from the W, but
I think that's mostly the passive. It's like
yeah, it
some
is definitely
ridiculous
mostly the
amount.
passive.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like 8% like missing HP or something. It's not even like ridiculous.
Yeah, something ridiculous. And now we see.
Yeah, there wasn't going to be much action bot lane, but that's kind of what happened. Like that's kind of what happens when like you feed like first blood, and then you like kind of kill your 80 characters.
Just flaming laugh, very good.
It's like one hit is wrong. You need to die as well. I'm on your team. Like I don't give a fuck.
Oh dear.
Oh, look at this. Look at the top lane damage. I mean, like,
Yeah, even through the creep wave, it's still incredibly brutal. We do know that
Yeah.
Mondo has some large damage of his own though, but into the Darius matchup, he's very happy to just farm with cleavers.
yeah. I mean, I like to see. I would personally like to see the back before level 6 and just buy up.
Oh, I would.
Like, he's doing well now, but if he doesn't, I think he's going to get died level 6.
Oh no, definitely looking for the Tabby spy very early on, if not even looking towards a Bramble Burst after that. Just stacking on the armor so that he is able to withstand the pressure of this top lane. Interesting.
But that said, the Darius is actually getting out soon. I guess it's still lagging. Yeah. Yeah. He's still lagging for sure. He's missing a little CS like randomly.
Yeah. Yeah, been very little attention from the jungle this game. It's mostly been around this bottom lane. In a more volatile matchup such as the Camille Lee Sin. Definitely interesting that they managed to avoid each other through this entire early game.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that like the action's been going on. I guess they're both kind of cautious, right?
Yeah,
In this type of game, the first time to go in, like usually they have to use all their mobility tools. And then if you have no mobility, then you just kind of get classed on.
definitely.
Swain has like the root and the pullback, and then like the Cinder and Camille, whoever gets stunned is just gonna die.
Absolutely no. Yeah, interestingly, we see that Lee Sin has not actually based yet, whereas Camille has managed to pick up a warrior enchant as well as a control ward. That control ward won't be of incredible use when Lee Sin, unless it definitely will be if Lee Sin shows top, but we'd be expecting it to be going towards the dot brushes and setting up for that control of one side of mid so that they can look at the Camille Syndra pressure into the Swain, I'd assume.
I'm kind of curious as to why Quickcaster didn't go face rush this game. That's not very common, right? Usually
Yeah,
they
no,
face
Ares
rush.
sign is definitely not common. Phase rush, the preferred keystone.
Yeah, because like once you get a face rush off, you just kind of run at them.
Yeah, no, especially with this team struggling a lot with actually being able to run at people, it seems very odd that.
Oh,
Ooh.
this must be lagging, surely.
Wait, did he miss that Q? I swear he hit it.
No. He landed the Q, but he missed the hook.
Oh, true.
Like it was like literally the wrong angle.
Yeah.
It's like it's acceptable when you miss it at the right angle, right? It's like sometimes you have to like go for the edge shot. That's like 45 degrees off. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's gonna go for it.
And
Oh, there we go.
an easy
told you,
Blood's
right?
Blood picked up by Mr. Ma.
Look, I told you. Like I told you, Mundo had to back and buy like he had to buy armor.
Yeah.
Like I called this like 2 minutes ago. Like whatever. But
Yeah,
I
interestingly
called it
to
when
see
they were
the gold values. I mean, Mundo hasn't picked up any items yet. Opting for the interesting buy of Ruby Crystal and Chain Vest rather than the Tabis.
a lot of Darius's damage, to be fair, is kind of okay. Well, like the W is like an auto attack, and then he like auto attacks W's to like auto reset. But like ultimately, like I think like flat armor is fine as well, considering how much. Oh,
Oh, and seeing the TPM from Swain.
very good TP by the way.
Oh, and Dota 2 picking up an answer kill, but unlikely to be any more as the Swain picks that up. And
I wonder if one of them could have gotten out there. Probably not. I think like because the Morgana stuff's flash, right? So I think one of them could have lived. So they decided to go for the 2-for-1 trade as opposed to the 1-for-0.
definitely, it looks like the Morgana was the one that was trying to get out, but was unable to, even
Well, I'd
if
like
she
to see
burned the
you
flash.
get caught here.
Ooh, that would be interesting. So they do seem to be picking up a free first Infernal, and that'll go over to the team of Big Doc Bobbies.
Yeah, really good TV play. Exactly what you want to do to turn the game around.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what happens when you have no action.
Interesting. With a TP disparity, definitely very easy to force something on that bottom lane. Even if the TP disparity happens to be from the mid lane, rather
Oh, well,
than
the TP
necessarily the top
disparity
lane.
is because like top lane just got solid.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
But like this to me is a strategic misplay from Vision. It's like there's like no pressure being put towards mid lane. I think that's the lane you have to go.
And we see the play coming out from Mubu.
Darius is dead for sure.
And Darius is very dead, absolutely. Not able to hit the double Q, but even if he did, not having the HP to survive both the Mundo and Camille burst.
Although maybe Darius could turn that if he played it. I thought he had an ulti. That was actually so. There was potential for him to turn it onto, I think, because of the level advantage. But
Definitely, with Mubu using his ulti early, there was possibly some potential for that to go wrong, but even so, well executed in the end, and an answer kill picked up by Mubu in the top lane.
yeah, and I think crucially, like I think notice is that Mundo still has flash, so
It definitely reduces some of the pressure from the Darius, only having one of the gap closer summoners up rather than both. Still able to abuse the Mondo in the long lane, but not able to answer the Mondo flash crucially.
And your question's been answered. He took the enchanted boots, so that's why he didn't go back and buy it.
That definitely makes sense. Okay, understandable. Not having those Ninja Towers early possibly hurting him, and of course, not having any armor at all being a deciding factor in that initial solo kill.
What I was saying before is kind of like, yeah, I really don't like how they didn't put any focus towards. I mean, literally, like if you land like the Camille, like the wall jump into flash, and you get a stun, and then Syndra lands her stun, and you can, I mean, Swain is dead. I mean, he doesn't even have face rush, so yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. And Mark, he's like getting a little bit greedy now. Like he wants that card, and he doesn't want to wait for it.
Absolutely,
And like,
this is exactly the point that Camille is looking to come topside.
Yeah, he's gonna die in the next like 40 seconds. And I think this is like the type of scenario where like Seiyu really needs to kind of counter. It's like you know what they're thinking here. Like, but anyway, I guess Seiyu just kind of wants to gank one. And here's an opportunity.
He's trying to force a cross map play, and Markmar not expecting that he's playing weak side, looking to die it. Oh, with maybe picking up a kill first, and maybe even picking up both. It looks like it, but he will die in return.
But he didn't get a triumph proc off.
Unfortunate. And we see more action in the mid lane. This Swain just tanking all of Syndra's damage, but realizing he can't tank anymore and ends up backing out. Say looking for an answer on the Syndra, but
yeah, nice, well played.
Oof. And does end up picking that up. Without ulti, that was very difficult to pull off. Or far harder than with ulti, at least.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like what I'm going back to. It's like your Syndra just has a chance of like with the igniter stuff. So like, yeah, it's so easy to get like an early free kill on the mid lane, and then you just kind of look at like on the flip side, right? It's kind of like Swain just has TP, so like he dies really quickly, and then like once you get to this point, right? It's kind of like it's so easy to kind of gank Syndra because she can't 100 to 0 like the Swain. So like the Swain just has to walk up. If he lands it, like he can like use his W, like the I thing, to manipulate the pathing of Syndra and then like land. And like if you don't have flash on Syndra, you just kind of die.
Absolutely no. Again, coming back to what we talked about earlier, where Syndra, although extremely good to be paired up with a Camille, with the kill pressure that would come out of that lane, again, due to her immobility, also is very easy to kill on the other side, especially against someone like a Lee Sin that has a lot of mobility in return.
Yeah, and like this is like inevitable, right? Like the first tower going down to the Darius. Oh, he got a counter pick. Oh wait, did he get the counter pick? No, they picked Mondo into Darius.
No, they picked Mondo into Darius, but I do believe Ice didn't have an answer into Darius, so decides for the comfort pick instead.
There's no real counter to Darius, if we're being real.
No, not at all. There are
champions. The fact that he gets outscaled.
Yeah, there are definitely champions that have better times into him, but there's no true better lane.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're looking at some
behind it, you kind of get owned anyway. I think there are, right? Like you can go like swing some, which I mean, obviously you're pick.
Yeah, no, you can. I mean, there's definitely some slightly cheesier picks. You can even have a reasonable time if you like want to go just fully for the lane and pick top Caitlyn. But
so is it just me or did Swain like he's really late there? Like he used to start the fight, couldn't have got more.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't get to see if he had the 5 stacks, but yeah, no, definitely noticed that he ulted very late into that fight.
Well, you don't need 5 stacks. It just gives you more damage in your like the burst one at the end of the combo. But like you should just activate it for like the dot damage.
Very true.
But yeah, look at this level of differential on top lane. It's like 2. And this is like exactly what like Big Dog Bobbies are going.
Absolutely. this top side is incredibly brutal, and sending multiple people there isn't looking like a viable option. It's just
Yeah.
something that sends more gold to Darius.
Look at this. He's being chased through her own jungle while Mundo is like watching. Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
This Darius is definitely taking over top lane, and if I'm not mistaken, that's a Raptor Cloak in his inventory, and we know exactly what Raptor Cloak builds
Yeah.
into. It's banner, baby.
Like, look at this guy. This in his jungle is like, I'm gonna steal your girlfriend. I'm gonna make you watch. Like, oh, never mind. I guess
Oh
Step
dear.
Right has something to
Alright,
say
and a
about it.
missed stun
Oh, there's that,
from the
there's that.
Syndra.
I think
And
it's out.
Mark
Oh wait, oh, it's not
wait,
gonna use
up?
it.
Uh,
Wait, why did he use it? Oh wait, okay,
Wait.
at least it's there. Wait, they can kill Syndra now. Oh my god, oh!
and Markmar able to get the double
this is
Q
gonna be
into
it.
an easy double pickup for this team.
He does have ulti, I think. Yeah, he did have ulti. Well, he did have ulti, he just didn't want to use it. Probably not.
Didn't get to see the initial setup for that, but it appears that Swain looked to take a fight on the other side of the map while their mid laner roamed up to top side, but ended up backfiring and a 2-for-1 coming out of it.
Yeah, the funny thing about this game, right, it's like, credit to Howard, he was actually out CS serious, but yeah, he actually, but the thing is, right, like, he pretty much died because he lacked, like, the knowledge of, like, matchup difference.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's definitely for a player that doesn't play the role a fair bit.
well, I don't play the role either, I just, like, kind of common sense, like, it's like, like, you know, like, you get auto, like, kind of have to learn these things. Like, imagine me, like, getting auto with top lane, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, these guys play top lane, like, every fucking day. Like, how do you deal with them, right? And then you just, like, work out strategies on how not to feed, right? And then one of those strategies is to, like, it's the recall. Like, you understand when they can, right? And then you recall, and then you buy armor, or you buy MR, like, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely.
And then, like, all of a sudden, you curve, like, the leading, you get carried by your team. The skill. It's a skill, man.
I love it.
Well, some people go Beamer. How do you get carried at the beginning? You're gonna make yourself carried. It's the important thing.
I'm in for a treat with the Beamer Sona top or the Rakan top.
I saw some guy winning lane. Like, I saw some guy win with there. I was like, holy moly. And then, like, no, it was like Jax versus Rakan top, and Rakan won.
That's a
Interesting.
very interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, well, Helen, if you just, like, recall level 5 and you buy, like, armor, then you won't die at level 6. And, like, that's not something you could possibly win.
absolutely, and a large team fight breaking out with the initial.
Oh! He nearly got that as well.
Oh dear.
Oh, look at Boo. Look at this high IQ juking.
Oh my god, and being able to get out of the Leona E.
Dude, that's 200 IQ juking. That's a mastermind from, like, Boo.
Very good. And it appears that the top laner is switching to mobile now.
No, it's actually not the top laner, it's the mid laner.
Oh, it's the mid
Wow.
laner. Oh, okay. It's they're switching their net, so there'll be a brief pause while they go about that.
But, like, look at the juking from Boo. Like, this is the type of thing that you would learn how to do if you just purchase this coaching system. I mean, like, okay, let's
You're
put a list of
absolutely
his
right.
achievements. Let's put a list of his achievements, right? I mean, first of all, his high challenger tier. Like, so everyone knows, like, challenger tier players in general, right? Secondly, it goes to UWA, which is obviously a better university than Murdoch.
Absolutely.
And then third, his coaching Q, as you might know.
Which we all know is
Three
the
and one.
premier OCS team.
Yeah, they're 3-1 in the OCS. I mean, this is a team that got owned by UWA 5-0 last year. Yeah, it's like, there's just no comparison. Like, to make a team like that gets owned by UWA, becoming 3-1 in OCS, I mean, it says a few things. Firstly, that UWA would be 4-0 in the OCS if they're there. Secondly, the fact that, like, movement while coaching has elevated PvP to a level of power that has never been seen before.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Seeing QT in particular, there's definitely a large impact that's very visible from Mubu, having very specific compositions that play around QT's strengths. We do see.
Oh man. Okay, no flaming. This.
Just flame.
No flaming. No
Just go
flaming.
at it.
You don't know what I was talking about. No flaming.
Oh dear. Alright. Coming back into the game, we see everyone really resetting after that big fight. Death time is expiring and the map just going back to how it is. What'll be interesting is as we go further into this game, looking into playing around Baron, you'd expect that the team of Muba Law Coaching will struggle to face check the team of Big Duck Bobbies, especially with that death ball composition.
You know what I would have really liked to have seen? A Sona mid this game. Like, okay, like hear me out, right? You just Sona mid, right? And then all of a sudden, healing up all the damage from the enemy team. Like Lee Sin becomes useless because I mean Lee Sin doesn't do any damage against. And like, who cares if Leon engages on you? You just get all the damage healed up. Anyways, move location going in.
Yes, and picking up
Yeah,
2
that's
kills
a lot
out
of
of
chance
that.
you see.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's the lockdown was there, and Mubi Law Coaching up 2-0 out of that. But it could be changed around here.
Oh, they're going for the 5 here.
The Zhonya's
Oh,
from-
very good Sonya's.
Yes.
And I think how long on the route? Oh,
Unfortunately, just out of range of that route, and we'll see Syndra being able to walk away, and a lot of time invested by Swain as well as the Zhonya's, but as well as the stopwatch, not the Zhonya's, but out of it,
Tristana has to go the long way here, otherwise she's gonna die. Might still
absolutely.
get died actually.
And we'll see Mubu Law Coaching pick up another tower in this game. As Mark is going in, misses the Q, but is ghosted off. There's no running from this Mundo. It's
Well, I
just a
think
matter
there
of...
is. I think there is some money, actually.
Ooh. And it turns out the ghost, not as long lasting as a Mundo ultimate.
I think the bigger problem is that it's not slow resistance on the ghost, right? So when you get like one Mundo cleaver to the face, and all of a sudden you can't.
Definitely a hard champion to chase down, and unfortunately, Darius just doesn't have the damage unless he's given the straight 1v1 in the
Oh,
long
he
lane.
shouldn't have used the ghost. I think that's the biggest problem. I think he could have burned the Mundo ultimate dice in ghost, and then could have used the ghost to chase him down after when Mundo doesn't hold you. I think that's the problem.
Definitely, and the window, of course, with the previous patch's nerfs is increased in terms of the Mondo ultimate downtime, so far easier to execute now.
And this is kind of the problem with Lee Sin as a jungler specifically, right? Because of like how you need the ward, you can't switch to red trinket, and if you don't switch to red trinket, then
Yeah,
you kind of get screwed, right? Because you can't like you walk past like 5,000 wards and you don't know.
absolutely
That's
no.
kinda what
Not being able
happened.
to have red trinket is very problematic, especially like although you're allowed to buy the control wards to enable your jump, it's still always nice to have more wards available. And of
I think
course,
he probably should have just taken the red trinket anyway, though. I mean, if we're being real.
yeah, no, definitely looking for other ways to clear his vision when he's building an assassin build. It's pretty critical for him to not be spotted on wards.
I think these guys like held it out. They should have just kept going for bot tower. I mean, did they really like think that they would like go for Baron play there without Lee Sin? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. We'll
They would
see.
have got free tower then.
Yeah, we'll see the lane assignments coming out so that most likely seeing Swain sent to the bottom lane with TP. But it seems like a fight's broken out, and Mubu going into the Darius. It's a pretty rough
Oh, he didn't get the reset.
opportunity, but yeah, Darius not getting the reset and Syndra being able to take him
This is
out.
such an awkward position for them because like the Tristana can't get any damage.
Absolutely,
Laugh
and Life
doesn't
going in
realize
and
this,
just
so he
dying.
just
We'll see Dota 2 able to get up a lot of damage. Bruce jumping possibly the wrong way. Honestly, not many ways he could have jumped, but It ends up being taken out, and Mubu low coaching at 2 for 4.
Yeah, I have to question the communication with Big Ducks there. Obviously, they didn't realize that Tristana was doing any damage, and like no one was seeing the back off. And so, like, you know, here's the moment you just keep going in. But really, what they need is someone going like, well, specifically Bruce going, you guys need to back out, like back out. I'm not doing any damage. I'm not doing any damage. Like blah blah. And, like instead, he doesn't say anything, I presume, and so the team just runs in one after the other and still suicide. So yeah, they need to be more cognizant. Like that's not an area that the Tristan can do damage, unfortunately. It's like good for Swain, but it's like bad for everyone else.
Absolutely. And we'll see everything reset, and expect Big Dog Bobbies to move in and try and get some control of this pit that they've been desperately needing for the last few minutes. And although we mentioned the difficulties of Mubu Law coaching phase checking Big Dog Bobbies, it seems that when Tristana isn't given access to these priority targets, it's the fights become very
Darius
difficult.
gonna die here. Maybe.
Possibly. Of course, the right answer for from Mubu showing bottom is
after the shenanigans top lane originally.
interesting that Swain is not being sent to match the Mundo, and instead they're just betting that Mubu Law coaching don't want to start this Baron even 4v5. We see a play being attempted in the mid lane, Luff caught out, and it looks like he's going to be taken out.
Hmm.
And Darius looking to make something happen here. Step right, nice flash over the wall, and Darius will be taken out. And this opens up the Baron as an opportunity for Mubu Law coaching. There's obviously no danger in face checking, and no danger in looking for this Baron. The only danger at this point is whether or not this becomes a 50-50, and with Lee Sin so far away, that's looking like an unlikely option.
Yeah, it's very doubtful. But they do get the vision from the Swain W, so maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Lee Sin coming in time, and an attempt at Smite's
Oh!
Hill, but Mubu Law coaching coming away with the Baron as well as the 2 picks. This is looking like a very easy game to close out for Mubu Law coaching.
Yeah, it doesn't look great seeing chance now. That's the problem with building Banner of Command on like Darius, right? I mean, it's like hypothetically you think, oh yeah, Monday doesn't have a way to kill this, but then you kind of realize, oh wait, I actually need damage, otherwise I can't threaten people on their team. And it's kind of what you saw, right? I mean,
absolutely no.
Syndra,
Building pure split push is always a trap as a top laner, and it seems that Darius going into a team fight is nowhere near as effective as the Mundo, and so we just see Darius show up and do a bit of damage, but not have the stats to do enough damage, not have the stats to tank enough damage, and just be kind of a nothing champion.
Yeah, I think he should have built. I think he actually should have built more damage than he did. When you take Ghost and Flash and like Darius as a champion, it's kind of like eliminating the need to build tanking because of the fact that you now actually have like the way to escape their peeling, right? Because you have so much move speed. Like, what's the point of moving really, really fast if you're not actually a threat to their... you're not actually a threat to anyone in their team?
Absolutely.
So I think like it's not that bad to go like Banner of Commander Darius, but I think you need to understand like what your role in the team, right, is, and like if your role in the team is kind of to split push, I don't actually think that Banner is like the right place this game.
Definitely, as we see a fight break out, could this be the final team fight of the game? We see Mubu Law coaching winning extremely hard, and it's just yeah, no, it's just a clinical pickup of the last few kills. They'll pick up the inhibitor, they'll pick up the Nexus towers, they'll pick up the Nexus, and they'll win the game and the series.
Mubu yeah, really well played from Mubu.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, how can you possibly beat someone like this? I think Mubu is too much of an advantage. I mean, and that advantage could be yours. The low price of however many dollars now it is for coaching.
I know. Mubu Law Coaching available at leaguecoaching.gg/numbers. That is annoying because you can't set your own default URL.
Is it actually on league coaching? Like,
Yeah, he's on.
.gg?
He might not at the moment, but that's where he
He
normally
will
gets his
be.
clients from.
Yeah, he will be.
It depends if you can be bothered setting a schedule. $30 an hour during the semester, which is right now, and then straight after exams, you can pick him up for the low price of $20 an hour.
Are you sure you don't want to do some coaching service?
And no, this is all Mubu Law Coaching. Simi Law
Alright.
Coaching doesn't exist. All right.
I mean, it does exist, right? It's just it's the poor taste to be advertising it in his glory.
Exactly. The glory of Mubu Law Coaching. All right.
Yeah, I like to think that there was actually like a lot of promise like in Big Duck Boys' team. I think there were just a few hiccups in terms of communication, but at the same time, like, I mean, the first game they literally had a suck up on him, and the second game he seemed to be lagging quite often. So it is what it is.
Definitely unfortunate to not see the promise of Markmar showing through, but we did end up getting a great series. Dota 2 really stepping up this series. 2 games of Kai'Sa and 2 games that were uh, fairly phenomenal in terms of performance. Looking at the damage stats post game, we do see, uh, yeah, we do see him doing a large portion of the damage. 22k, the closest to him 17k, and yeah, no, a very solid performance out of him, a solid performance out of everyone from Mubu Law Coaching, and a disappointing performance from some of the key carriers on Big Doc Bobbies.
Yeah, this is one of those things, right? It's like nobody knocks Dota 2 to Platinum 3 and beats them in the Uni Rumble. Like, it's one or the other, right? If he made his choice, he made the commitment to coaching. I respect it.
Absolutely. And I believe that wraps up the series. Mubu Law Coaching taking out the grand finals of the UWA ULC Uni Rumble 2018. Any closing thoughts, Beamer?
Yeah, I really like the step up in competition this year. I mean, last year it looked like Big Duck Bobbies were completely dominant. No one could possibly take them down. And this year we've got new challenges. Can't wait to see what happens next year. Who will take home the glorious RP prize? How much is it?
That's an
That must be
excellent
quite a
question.
lot.
That is classified information that you can learn about if you go to the UWA ULC Facebook group and join up if you are a UWA student. It's a great community to check out. Highly recommend it. Beamer, I think that's it. I think we're done here.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the casting. Pretty last minute stuff, but but I think we make a good Dota series. Let's do it again sometime.
Hell yeah. All right. I will sign off to the stream and sign off to ULC. All right. Goodbye, good says.